back to our guest now, Mr. Larry Hall, and we're so happy that he's had the time today to be with us. Larry, we'd want to talk a little bit about, now you met your wife in high school?
Oh no, I met my wife in junior high. But
in junior high?
Her father was Air Force, so they moved away before I got old enough to really realize.
Right.
And she came back in 1976, and somehow or another we met, and since then it's just been one thing after another.
All right. Well, now, one more time, I don't know if I asked you, but how many children do you have?
I have four.
Four children?
12 grandchildren.
And 12 grandchildren? Wow, that's a lot. Okay, and also we would like to ask you a little bit about, we hear that you are a big car nut, so to speak.
I am, I guess.
And you've built quite a few for your wife, or you altered them.
I had one. My wife's 94 F-150 was, it was left to her by her father, but it was getting some age on it. So over the past few years, I've had everything refurbished from the paint job to the interior and had the motor rebuilt. So now she's got a brand new car.
Oh, right. Now, did you do most of this yourself?
No, I didn't. I'm not good enough to do that. I'm smart enough to know that I can't do it. So I have professionals do it. Now,
is this the car, I think that the F-150, what, is that a V8 or just a?
Yes, it's a V8.
Mm-hmm. Wow, and what year did you say that was?
1994. And
this is a truck that her father left her?
Yeah, her father left her when he passed away.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, are you and your wife you're gonna pass it on to your children?
My wife's already discussed giving it to my my grandson who's in the Navy, so we will see how that works. Oh,
wonderful, wonderful. That would be great. Now, also, I think you've done some work for the railroad. In fact, that's where you retired from.
Yes, I worked, my first 14 years of my working life basically was working for the L&N Railroad, and I worked on the bridge gang from Chattanooga to Atlanta.
Now, tell me a little bit more. Bridge gang, what is this?
We were responsible for all repairs and maintenance and even building of all the bridges between Atlanta and Chattanooga, and all the buildings like the depots and things like that. We were responsible for maintaining them and keeping those in working order.
And one thing, well, a couple things. I myself have wondered, the trains used to have cabooses, but they don't have those anymore.
Yes, they basically did away with that because they didn't need the cabooses after a while. The communications became so good with the radios and the things that they did have that there wasn't really any need to have someone at the back to know if something went wrong with the train.
Now, is there an exact time? I mean, what year did they stop this?
I really don't have an idea, but it was during the time I was there from 1976 to 1989.
Okay. Now, also, I have often thought, we always think of locomotives, we think of them as using diesel fuel, but that is not true. I think they use they do use diesel fuel, but that's to turn the turbine?
Yeah, it's an electric generator. The diesel fuel is used to turn turbines, which make electricity to run the train. The large trains works on the same principle as the small toy trains.
Oh, okay. Now, and also when we hear that spraying, it's actually sand on the track. Is that true?
And sometimes it's sand on the track. A lot of times it's the release of air from the brakes.
Okay.
The way brakes work on a train is that the only way you can keep the brakes off is have compressed air pull the brake pads off.
Okay.
If the train loses air pressure for any reason, all the brakes clamp on and the train stops.
Is that a safety feature?
Yes, it is.
Wow. Now, so a train that is going 60 miles an hour, let's say.
Okay.
How long would it take that train to stop?
At least a half a mile.
And if it were heavily loaded, it would take longer?
It could take longer.
Now, what about the up to 60 miles an hour? Does that take quite a while?
It takes it a long time to get started and a long time to stop. It may stop in 100 yards doing 20 miles an hour at a crossing, but the train is so heavy that any object in the way would just be nearly completely obliterated.
Okay, and one more thing, when the railroad crossings come down, is that controlled from the locomotive, or is that just when they run over a certain point?
When they hit a certain area and the dispatcher and everyone knows exactly where the train is, the gates will come down automatically.
Oh man, and one thing you don't want to do is you never want to go through
No,
those.
it's not worth it. If it's worth it to save the 30 seconds or 5 minutes you'd wait on a train, it's not worth your life. And all it takes is one time to be wrong, and then there's your life gone.
Yes, because trains don't stop.
Trains can't stop.
Well, okay, moving right along, we've got some other things that we want to speak to you about. Well, we just about covered everything, but hey, when we come back, if you would, please bear with us, and we'll be back in a few more minutes with a lot more questions. Thank you.